It's crunch time after a grueling Bye-Mageddon week that had fantasy managers making some tough decisions through the weekend. We're now on the home stretch, the fantasy MLR playoffs, a tight race between league members in all of our leagues. On this week's episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show, we break down the exciting week 13 that was, talk about a waiver wire that's going to get ever more important, plus look ahead to week 14. We go over the latest news and notes, and also have a special announcement towards the end of the show. The Fantasy Ruckers Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 110 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making fantasy rugby a reality in the MLR with you each and every single week. Matt Yee, Devin Vanderpool, Ryan Yee, and boys, we've been doing this thing for quite some time.
110 episodes to be exact.
110 episodes to be exact.
No, we've missed a couple episodes, had to refilm. It's probably like 115.
That's true.
All right.
That's true. Technical difficulties in and there, but it's all part of the learning experience, Vandy. But it just took that many episodes, 110 plus or minus 5, like Vandy said,
Plus or minus.
to get a week where all of us show hosts have won in our fantasy matchups. Obviously, you guys have won before. Exactly. we got to say this because obviously you and Vandy, Maddie,
win all the time.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it looks like that every
50% of the time based on the
but you guys have been enjoying this fantasy rugby thing in the MLR for the past few years. I finally was able to get the first taste this time around, and hey, all of us getting dubs this week. Some pretty exciting stuff. And let me tell you, it happens during a week that is absolutely crazy.
I dominated. Oh, sorry. You're saying something else.
That was absolutely crazy. I mean, Byemageddon predictions going a little bit sideways. Vandy, you and I were on the episode last week where we said, oh, this is an easy week to predict. You know,
that was my lock too.
Money. I know. And we were basically like, okay, yeah, like what's going to be the thing that shocks us? And it was basically every single matchup outside maybe one or two that basically was exactly what we said was not going to happen. But hey, that's what makes this year's Major League Rugby season so much fun. So crazy week, got a jam-packed episode in this one. We're going to obviously break down that crazy week, break down the fantasy results and the matchups and the stats that happen. Some big time guys this week, dish out some team of the week honorees, talk a little waiver wire, look ahead to a week 14. Finally got some teams coming back. Only 2 teams on bye this week. We got our Triple D segment. Devin's Degenerate Dambles keeps
and
on
don't
going
forget about
here.
our favorite Commissioner League update.
Oh yeah, can't forget. You've been really liking that update here.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff
going on. We'll have a good one today.
I think we'll have a solid one today, at least for all of us as our big time victories going in this. And like we said, it's crunch time. So a part of that update, we got playoffs coming around the corner, fantasy MLR playoffs in a handful of weeks. Gonna clarify some of the rules going into that. And hey, we got all of our leagues and our 4 leagues plus our main league, our OG league, whole bunch of playoff races happening down to the wire. So we're going to talk about that, get to all that. We also have a very special announcement. It's our duty, Maddie and Vandy, as the representatives of fantasy MLR and the people who have created this thing and the spokespeople for fantasy MLR as a whole. You know, our tagline is making it a reality, and that's what we're doing here. It's our duty to take a dabble whenever there's something brand new when it comes to fantasy. It's our job to test out the waters and see what it's all about, to kind of navigate what is fantasy rugby and the MLR. So if you want to hear what that is all about, it's a pretty fun partnership. Stick around to the end of the show, and we're going to have all of that. But hey, you guys ready to get into this jam-packed episode 110 here and start breaking down the crazy week that was?
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into it. We start off with some news and notes. And Vandy, this was the same sentiment that we had last week in terms of the theme of our news and notes segment in episode 109. But man, injuries. And there's a little bit of an update to some of the guys that we talked about last week coming through this week in the past 7 days since the last recording of the episode. But the big one is, man, the Seattle Seawolves are hurting. They're absolutely hurting. Vandy, you and I talked about the injury to Riekert Hatting last week, and it sounds like we were right in terms of that it was going to be a big time injury. And Riekert Hatting, massive player for fantasy MLR, out for the rest of the season, along with guys that we now have some clarification on. Charles Elton has been injured for quite some time. He's out for the rest of the season. I have him on my fantasy squad. That hurt. He was a tackle leader for quite some time there. Wave goodbye, Maddie. Mason Peterson, Peter Malcolm, and Carl Pryor, all guys there. 5 of them out for the season. All on Seattle.
We'll get into it, but this weekend didn't help that list at all. But yeah, it looks like the two championship contending teams, Seattle, New England Free Jacks, boy, are they going through some rough times with injury. They got the injury bug and they are struggling.
And it's true. I mean, it's opening up the door, right, for some of these other competitive teams. Obviously, we've seen what Houston's been doing. Some teams getting hot as of late. San Diego has been on a string of winning games here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of injury landscape kind of figures all that out. We did see some reassuring, appearances back in the lineup. Jason Potros was back, which was good to see. Reese McDonald was announced in the lineup, but I believe the Free Jacks tweeted out like before their match that he was actually pulled out of the lineup to kind of tend to that injury. So again, we'll continue to see kind of how that plays out this coming week. At least it was close enough for him to return, at least for a little bit there. And we'll see whether or not who was the former #1 fantasy point scorer in our league for quite some time, whether or not he's going to make a return here in week 14.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, he's going to be big because I got that back 3-1 book 'em bets on him. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets back.
Yeah, we will definitely see. Now, to kind of put a twist to it, obviously with injuries, there's going to be guys that are coming in. So a big name that was actually announced heading into the weekend for Seattle with that huge loss with Riekert Hatting, plus all the other back row players that Seattle has lost now. They signed former Rugby New York player Manate Akui. Signing with Seattle, the back row player. He's been an impactful fantasy player in the past. He looked pretty all right this past weekend. Had that try, I believe, there off of the set piece. So he's obviously going to be a big time player that people are going to look at here in this upcoming waiver wire, which we'll get into. Playing the 8-man role there, which is obviously going to add a lot of fantasy value as well. But Manate Akui is coming in for the back row help for an injured Seattle Seawolves team.
Yeah, we'll see where he sits. I mean, he'll be an athletic back rower for the Seattle team. And just the way that he was with Rugby New York, he did make a fantasy impact just to the way that he ran with the ball and his offensive ability. So I think he might be on people's streaming watch list if they're in a bind and they need a back rower.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess we also got to talk about some guys who won't be available for the foreseeable future here. Maddie, your boy, Dylan Nell of the Utah Warriors has been handed out some discipline for some of that shenanigans that you guys were talking about a couple weeks back. I believe it's 5 weeks, Maddie. Insight on that.
I said it would be till the rest of the season. He only got 5 weeks. I think they gave him 1 game at the end of the year to play. But fantasy relevance wise, time to drop him. Yeah. He's not going to be playing anytime, even if you make it to the finals. You can drop him. I dropped him. You can drop him to fill that roster spot. And I hope that you caught on to that during this Byemageddon week. And if you didn't, sucks to suck. Get better.
Damn, just ruthless, Maddie. When I think that's why people hate when you win, because this is the Maddie.
That's exactly why.
You know,
really,
it's tough. It's tough to hear sometimes.
It's a tough life.
Yeah, I don't know if your head's gonna fit in this little 720.
I'm agreeing with him right now.
Is that so, Bandy? That doesn't happen often. I'm surprised. Very surprised. But nonetheless, let's keep it moving here. Some more news to get to. Big time signing here for the NOLA Gold. Couple pieces of news here. We'll start with the player side of things. Taniela Filimone, Vandy, your boy, signing an extension. We always love to see when they add a little bit more details. More
Yes,
details, the
sir.
better. They don't often tell us how long that they're returning for, but in this case, they do. And it looks like Philemone is going to be returning until the 2027 MLR season. So that's a long-term deal there. It's reassuring to see. Philemone has 7 tries in the past 10 games
beast this year.
so far with the NOLA Gold. And it's he's been exciting to see. Vandy, I know you have him on your squad, and he's been a nice little asset for you here this season so far, which is cool to see. And I guess from the money standpoint of things, to continue with the NOLA Gold theme, just something I wanted to touch on. It does look like that the NOLA Gold has some ownership changes and a new board formation that's happening. Don't want to touch too much on this because obviously a lot of this is business related, and we'll see. Time will only tell what the impact of this is, but it's always interesting to keep, especially with the growing league like the MLR, to keep tabs on kind of these types of changes on how it will either benefit or kind of stall the growth of this league. So we'll see how NOLA Gold kind of changes their approach in terms of their interaction and the product that they're putting on the field. But something to note, though, that there is new ownership changes happening with NOLA Gold.
Yeah, as long as Gilchrist stays out of it, we're good.
Yeah, there you go.
He's
Imagine,
back, man.
Imagine if that was the ownership. Gilchrist is back. It is now the what would be the name?
The NOLA Giltinis.
I mean, they beat that with like a dead horse there to get there. They would have to come up with something new. Gilgronis,
Goldtinis.
Goldcrest. The NOLA
Goldcrest.
Goldtinis. Yeah, the Goldcrest. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think, knock on wood, but I don't think that will be a return that's happening here, at least with this ownership change. And then last thing I want to talk about here, when it comes to the Major League Rugby teams across the league, City Connect jerseys. It's something that's catching on in all professional sports. You've seen it with the baseball. They've had a mixed bag of reviews when it comes to some of the teams that have been releasing their Connect jerseys, and it looks like the MLR is joining in on the fun as well. They released their Connect jerseys, some better than others. Guys, opinions on some of these jerseys. Some teams going all out, some teams keeping it more conservative. Tell me who your favorites are. Tell me who you don't like. What's your thoughts on the specialty series jerseys, City Edition for MLR in 2024?
Easy. Top 3: NOLA, Miami, Seattle.
NOLA, Miami, Seattle.
Miami.
Okay. You like Miami,
Dude,
huh?
That Miami one's slick.
Again, I'll always say I love the colors, but I don't understand what Major League Rugby's hard on is for having like skylines or images on their jerseys. You know, New York did it way back when.
Well,
I know
better
Maddie's
than the Hounds trying to go with the MLB.
That's true. Maybe a little bit of, it's kind of like the Chicago Bulls-esque too, kind of look there with a little bit of blue. Maddie, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, what the heck, Seattle is that even different?
Yeah,
from your actual jersey.
I mean, like, I would even throw like the Free Jacks in there too.
Look at that bottom.
Like, talk about conservative to the max.
That bottom.
I actually think the Free Jacks one is clean.
You like
I
the
think
plaid?
It's very clean. I do like the plaid.
Oh,
I do like the plaid. I know that the Houston one has a lot of history behind it. I think this baby blue color has a lot of history towards Houston. But I'm gonna have to go with Vandy here. I think the NOLA one is gonna look very good on the field there. Yeah. That one's my favorite of all. I have to say that the Chicago one is probably my least favorite. Okay. I think they had a better one last year where they did it like the Bulls.
Yeah, I thought so too.
This year they had a little bit of a miss here. I'm not sure exactly where this Hounds baseball jersey is coming from. And LA, just grow up. All right, we get it. LA Lakers, just grow up. All right.
You just don't like LA.
I like
everything that LA does.
What? The purple's pretty slick though. The purple's
cool.
I like
the purple looks good. It just I can't stop looking at the bell end. That's at the
Yes, it does have that, but it also like we get it. The Lakers are in the same city. That's not the only thing about LA, all right? You have the waves and the vibes on the ocean that you have on your other.
Well, they already did that, Maddie, with their original jerseys.
Yeah, why don't they just put up the full Lakers jersey then? Just pull it up.
That would be pretty cool though if they did.
That actually would be sweet if they pulled an old school Lakers jersey.
Yeah, that'd be pretty.
Why don't you just hire us as your designers?
I'm sure that would cost a lot of money.
That's true. I think it would. But for me, The NOLA one, they're different. I don't think I'm as high on it. I want to wait and see how it looks on the field because I think I can go two ways. It can either look really, really nice on the field, or it's just gonna look like a friggin' mess with a bunch of people that looks like they got paint spilled on their jerseys and running around the field. So we'll see how it looks in person. You
Hey,
always
Vanny, you'll appreciate this. Sorry, Ryan. Sorry to cut you off, but Vanny, you'll appreciate this. I just saw this. Houston jersey, Houston Oilers, the football team. That's what Seattle mentioned.
Oh, and apparently there's a beef with that. That is not actually their team or something. I don't know. I seen some Reddit thing about it. Don't worry about it.
Utah's I don't like Vandy. I'm sorry. It's weird. Orange.
If there was less of it, it was subtle. That orange is slick. But if there was just a subtle bit of whatever they're going for on it.
Yeah. I will say I like I think Houston is my favorite on there.
Houston?
Yeah, I really like Houston's H-Town.
It
It's
is
different.
nice.
It's nice, clean. I've always been a fan of the baby blue. Anthem actually looks pretty cool too. I like the font of
I like the racing stripes.
Too much like the Chargers.
And I will say, I will always have a special
Tone.
place in my heart for the Cherry Blossom Old Glory DC jerseys. The Cherry Blossoms, huge connection there with the DC stuff. I think out of a whole so far, DC from start to finish with their home, away, and these city jerseys, I think have done a very good job.
Hey, Vanny, say how you really feel.
I'd buy Laura one of those.
Okay, all right. Well, let's
Wait, where is Dallas?
Where is Dallas?
Wait, where is Dallas?
Actually, there's two teams missing.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
else is missing? Dallas.
Dallas
Carolina.
hasn't announced theirs.
Carolina.
No, Carolina's there.
Oh,
Dallas hasn't announced theirs, and San Diego didn't announce
San
it.
Diego.
Oh, yeah, San Diego.
So, or
Well,
maybe they did, and we didn't
San Diego
see it.
already used the camo, so they can't really do
Okay,
anything
sweet.
else.
So that sucks.
Yeah.
San Diego, that's awful. Well, I guess Dallas we're waiting for. I don't know if
No.
we're
I'm
missing
saying that
them.
San Diego already used their camo. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like that would be their city.
Oh,
jersey.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
already.
So we'll find out. We'll find out with those two. So far, seems like Vandy and I have a good taste.
Yeah,
All right.
I would say I would agree with that.
All right. Well, busy week again. Jerseys, signings, injuries, a whole little bit of everything here as we approach the tail end of the 2024 Major League Rugby season. And we'll continue to keep you all updated. You boys have anything else? Any of your insiders telling you anything?
I think we got to get into the best part of the show. Oh, no.
Are you getting something? Breaking news?
Yeah, no, we're good.
No, nothing. Oh, okay.
I got a dentist appointment on Thursday.
Gotcha. Well, that's kind of breaking news. Got to keep those chompers clean. That's all right. All right. You guys ready to go on your favorite part of the show?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Woo! Woo!
That gets me going.
Hear ye, hear ye.
It's
Hear ye,
provocative.
hear ye.
Hear ye, hear ye. Here is Supreme Commissioner Yee with another Fantasy Ruckers Leagues update. Before we get into it, want to say if you aren't already, follow us at the Fantasy Ruckers. Handle up above on the YouTube video, down below in the description if you're listening on the pod. Check out the website. Alistair Kirschbold and doing a whole bunch of good stuff. Got a Discord community. Link to join that down below as well.
Nice save,
fun group
Ryan.
of people there. Yeah,
Yep.
nice save. Got to do that at the top of the show. So thought this was a nice place to do it as well.
Nice. That is a league update.
Let's get into kind of our weekly challenge. We always start off with this in our league's update. Maddie, can you stop?
What up?
Can you stop?
Sorry, this one's going to be obnoxious here, boys.
Back-to-back weeks, Matt's been number one in the weekly challenge. I will say,
And Anthem wasn't even playing this week. This one was hard. Anthem wasn't even in.
This one was hard. And it was reflective of the amount of points scored. I mean, usually we're hovering around like the 50 to 60 points as your top thing. This week, only 36.9. Again, a lot of games didn't have a lot of points scored. The Anthem weren't playing. But Matt, I'll give it credit to you, man. In a week that was tough to pick a lineup, you came through again. So back-to-back weeks here, you are the weekly challenge winner.
Yeah. Thanks.
But you're still second though behind me in the year standings.
Oh, whatever.
It is called weekly.
It
is called weekly challenge for a reason though. I will give you that.
We're getting there.
But we got to give a shout out to the wonderful community members and Fantasy Ruckers followers that are partaking in the fantasy MLR landscape for the first time. Corleone. He's been a familiar name that has been getting on the top of our list quite frequently there. He's in second place, 31.8 fantasy points for him. I finished fourth. Vandy. I mean, there's.
What about the potato?
The potato came in.
Got third.
Potato got third.
Why'd you just skip him and go right to your name?
Well, because I
I
just give a shout out to the top community member, Maddie. You got to be the best one. I'm not going to give you a shout out if you ain't the top one. So
hate potatoes.
no, potatoes are quite good, actually. Quite good. I like potatoes in all
yeah,
shapes and forms.
Kind of
All right.
overrated.
What are you talking about, Vandy? Until some potatoes is all you eat.
No, it's tobacco.
That's true. That is true. And then Vandy, I mean, like I mentioned, mediocrity. 8th again, man. 8th on the season, 8th in the week. I'd like what's
on the season? I'm 7th.
You're 7th, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fun in there. And then now let's shift on over to our fantasy performances.
Yeah, I can tell you. I can just tell you who's the fantasy performer of the week. That's me. 86.9 points, I believe. I don't think anybody even came close this week. So yeah, nice try, everybody. But yeah, sorry, 82.4. I don't think anybody else got in the 80s this week. I'm number 1 fantasy performer of the week.
No, you just get lucky. It's unbelievable.
All you guys think. Where'd I get lucky? Where'd I get lucky? Huh?
Over 1,000
Where'd I get lucky?
It's for 2 weeks. All you guys.
Where'd I get lucky?
You guys just like have this weird handshake agreement where like we're only
oh yeah,
each other, but
oh yeah. Hey, most points for in the league ain't lucky, Vandy.
Most points against
that ain't lucky.
I will say
most points against ain't lucky either.
Vandy, you should see this guy's grin on his face when he sees one of these guys that he picks up. Unbelievable. Who is it this week? Roll-off Smith.
Roll-off Smith, Mahoney Nakuru. Yeah, these guys.
Like, he just picks up these random guys that end up scoring, and it's just the smirk on this guy's face.
Random guys.
They are random. They are random.
Random guys.
But it is crazy, though.
Thought and effort into this.
I will say, Vandy, though, this is back-to-back weeks now. Last episode, we had the same thing when we were talking about it, Vandy, but no triple-digit point scores again. And obviously, some of that has to do with Anthem not playing, but just points hard to come by here these past couple of weeks in the world of fantasy MLR.
Holy cow, the number of people in the 40s this week.
Yeah.
40s and 60s, getting wins with 60s. It's crazy. I was looking through all the leagues. A few 70s, 180, just...
What can I say?
Tough
Both,
we just like to cancel.
I know.
We gotta get this guy canceled somehow.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's okay, but the low point scoring played in our favor, Vandy. You and I getting wins here with the 60 points we put up. It's okay. You know, it's at the end of the day, a W is a W, right?
Hey, how's the bottom half of the table feeling? Is it pretty cold down there?
No,
Twitter.
No, what do you mean Twitter? Bottom half of the table, Matt? You can't.
Bottom half of the table, right?
It's funny because you're literally in 6th place. You're literally in
bottom
6th place heading into
There's 10
week
people
13.
in our league, and you guys are in the bottom 5. That's bottom half, baby.
Man, Vandy, we got to get this guy canceled for sure.
I'm working on it.
What's up?
I'm actively working on it.
Yeah. But that is leading into my next topic point here is that playoffs are coming up. Maddie, yes, you're in 2nd place now, but you were on the cusp last week with that tie against Dankus Anchors.
Short-term memory.
You're on 6th place. You jumped up to 2nd with the way that things played out. But Maddie, you and I both in playoff spots here, heading into this final week of our main OG league of the regular season. For the OG league, got 10 teams, so playoffs start 1 week earlier. Top 2 teams are getting a bye. I swear to God, Matt, if you get a bye, I'm gonna puke. I'm going to puke if you get a bye.
He can't get a bye.
I know. Yeah, and then the 3 seed will play the 6 seed, 4 seed will play the 5, and then into the semifinals. For all the other main regular leagues there, the 4 other leagues, your playoffs, you actually have 2 more weeks in the regular season. You guys will start in round 16 and then go into your semifinals then and have your finals in round 17.
Oh, you know what's cool? I'm just looking now. If somehow Rugby Morning loses next week and you win, Matt, you'll be playing off in the last week against each other for first place.
Let's go. I'm going to tell.
Well, no. This is the last week, though. This is the last week.
No, there's 2 more.
No. For our league, there's 1 more.
No.
OG league, yeah. Because the 15 is the quarterfinals. And we're heading into round 14.
All right. It's just not listed as such.
It's just not listed on such in the site.
Anyways.
Site,
Anyways, we'll figure out what they can be.
Yeah.
So you mean my hopes are gone? You just
I think
exterminated my hopes live.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey boys, I gotta go. You know, it's been fun.
Yeah, you quit. Quit on the spot. But yeah, no, playoffs are right on the corner. I will say, in our OG league, like, we don't have anyone running away with it. I mean, like, literally from place outside of, I mean, Vandy, you're kind of in it. I mean, you're
two
not
right there.
wins,
you're not
bud. You
you're
just
not in it.
literally pulled the rug out from under me.
You're not in it. You're not
quite literally pulled the rug out. Like
you're not in it anymore. But I mean, the fact that you're at the bottom of the table and have 1,075 points again. Oh, where are you, Vandy? Vandy, there? You there, Vandy? You there? It's been tight. I mean, top team is 9-4. Last playoff spot is 7-6 to get in our OG league. Pretty crazy. Anyways, enough talking about our leagues. Let's get into some of the fantasy performances from the weekend to start talking about kind of the guys that led to what was a crazy week 13 of Byemageddon. We had 4 teams on bye. We had Carolina on bye, Houston on bye, Dallas on bye, Utah on bye. 4 matches. It was pretty tough to kind of get together a big lineup. But hey, boys, we made it through. Vandy,
Made it through Byemageddon.
Despite you, maybe not. It's all about moral victories at this point for you, and this one's a big moral victory. Come on, you did good. You did good, Vandy. Pat yourself on the back. You did good.
I'm ignoring you guys.
Let's go, Vandy. You did good.
I'm ignoring you. La, 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 la.
You know how condescending that is, Vandy? You know how condescending that audience clap was for you? I didn't do it. That was Ryan. That was Ryan.
I live with it.
All right. Well, let's get into the first match on Friday, a late one, 10:30 Eastern time. The Seawolves taking on Old Glory DC. Yeah. Where are the fantasy points? Seawolves winning this one 26-24 in what was a pretty interesting matchup. Seawolves now jump to 9-3. Old Glory 4-5-2. Seawolves not, especially with all the injuries, definitely not the same dominant team that you would expect at this point in the season, as we've seen in seasons past. But they squeak one away here.
It's just crazy watching this Old Glory DC team, like their scrum and their set piece just absolutely dominated the Seattle scrum.
Like, is in.
Yeah, it's just crazy because that what kept Old Glory DC in the game. Like, Seattle would make a handling error, Old Glory DC would get a scrum, Old Glory DC would get a penalty, Old Glory DC would either kick for the corner or they would kick for post. Like, it's just been a constant trend for this Old Glory DC game. Just kind of Old Glory DC team, just like staying in games by other teams, just giving them penalties, letting them kick for the corner, letting them kick for the post. Speaking of kick for the post, though, I mean, man, Robertson's goal kicking. We thought it started off hot, but he's been down
2 on conversions, 4 for 5 for penalty kicks.
Yeah, but those 2 that he missed, like there was one that he missed that was like, it was like 35, 37, 40 meters out, but that was the one that should have won them.
Yeah, you're right.
Like that one's a tough one. And he's been good throughout the year, but I feel like his play has been slowly decreasing. I mean,
this is also, and I mean, I will give a shout out to him, Team of the Week honoree. In
Team of the Week honoree with 13.5 fantasy points, right? For
the fly half position. That either says more of the lack of fly half play this past week from a fantasy standpoint from across the league. But I mean, again, when you're getting those 4 penalty kicks, pretty solid there. 22 meters gained, 16 tackles. Again, those 4 penalties and the 1 conversion definitely boded him well. Came off the bench the past 2 weeks. It was reassuring to see him back in the lineup there. Vandy, I'm sure you were happy to see that. Graydon Bowd coming off the bench.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets switched up again.
Yeah, me neither.
But here's a couple fantasy points here. Big injuries here. So we talked about Seattle's injury issues earlier. More injuries to come. Tavita Kurdrani carted off. Olive Khalifi carted off.
Bad leg injury.
Yeah, those ones both seems like some pretty tough either leg or lower leg or knee injury. So those guys are no longer going to be in your fantasy lineup. So if you picked up Kurdrani and you paid a lot of fab for him and you haven't dropped him yet, now is either the time to put him on IR or drop him. But yeah. And then the other one, sorry, I was just riding the other one. I was going to say Pago Haini. I mean, it's great. Like he's getting some opportunity in that back row, but man, he's a liability. He's a liability when it comes to discipline. I swear he gets a yellow card every time he starts.
It's a poor man's Jama.
I just want to give a shout out to also that ref too. That last minute, I think it was 74, 78-minute try by Old Glory, where it looked like Buddy stepped out. He lets the play go on because he's, you get the TMO review. TMO reviews it pretty close. He ended up making the pass, without stepping out of bounds. But I just want to give a quick shout out. Sometimes Matt's a little too hard on the refs, so
there you go.
Thought it helped.
I will say, we've said it on this show before, Vandy, that I think rugby referee officiating, the way it is one of the best in all of professional
Better
sports.
than the
I just think,
playoffs in the
yeah,
NHL right now.
yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, in this
Also,
20, yeah.
Sorry, recency bias. Pago Hyeini has not gotten a yellow card every time he started.
There you go. 26 to 24. Again, victory for the Seawolves. You would expect maybe some more fantasy points here, but no first player in this match scoring higher than 13.5 fantasy points, led by the Waiver-Wire Fly Half Team of the Week, Jason Robertson. But Axel Muller, 13.5 fantasy points here. He hasn't really had that boom game, but Axel Muller is just a really safe play this fantasy season. Like when he's in the lineup, like you can count that he's going to get you around 8 to 12 fantasy points each and every week. He hasn't scored a try in a couple of weeks. But again, he hasn't scored higher than 12.9, but he hasn't scored lower than 7.3. Obviously his higher, or I should say outside of that first kind of boom game that he had when he appeared with the 25 points. But since then, he's kind of just been very, very consistent, which you don't often get from the back three position, which is nice to see. William Talataina, 12.6 for him with his try. Mac Mason, 12.1. Colin Gross, 11.1. And Jamison Fernandez Schultz, 10.6, followed by Dan Creel with a 10.1 fantasy point performance there. Just a lot of mediocre in this match if you had any fantasy assets in this one.
Still got me the win.
That's for sure.
All right. Let's shift on now to our first Saturday matchup. The Miami Sharks taking on the New England Free Jacks. Yeah, wild one. And the first of, I guess, a couple that was definitely not the expected outcome. The Free Jacks offensively couldn't get it going, had the lead late into the game. And then Miami pulling out the late last minute try to win the game and steal it 15 to 13. They now jump up to 4-7. The Free Jacks drop to 7-4. And a low scoring affair. This is now the Miami Sharks won last week, I believe, too, right?
Yes, they did.
So I mean, this team has been on a roll here.
There you go. They'll do really well with the 3 wins they got. And the New England Free Jacks, I mean, man, were they ever dominated in this game? Like Miami were just constantly had the territory, had the possession. Miami just didn't know how to convert. And frankly, New England Free Jacks goal line defense was stellar. And you can't knock them for that. But New England Free Jacks, it's such a weird sight to see just their set piece struggling so much. Like I think I was seeing the stats are like 10th in scrum success and like 11th in lineout success. It's such a weird sight to see them struggling so much in the set piece in an area where you just expect them to be kind of A1. But it really led to them just struggling there. I think for me, and just last thing about the game, like for me, like New England Free Jacks, with these injuries, with their set piece being the way that they are, they just need to now change the way that they're making decisions. Like they can't be going for the corner. The corner isn't a lock anymore. Take the points where you can get them. There's just times where I think they could have won this game if they just made some better decisions off some penalties. But that's not where we get fantasy points.
No.
Don't turn it over on the 79th minute in your own end.
Yeah, that too.
And I mean, give credit before we get into the fantasy performances here. Give credit to Miami. I mean, they're just. Yeah. They're irking out wins.
They're working,
here.
Man.
They're it might not be pretty. It might not be great, but I mean, 4-7 and when we started the year and we saw the way this Miami team was playing and the way we talked about them, I mean, no confidence with this team, right? But somehow they've strung together 4 wins, one of them against New England, one of them against a NOLA team that's now 7-4. And then, just big time performances in terms of just squeaking out these tight wins against pretty solid teams. So
and you know what? It's not even like they don't get yellow cards or penalties. Like I think they got double the amount of close to double the amount of penalties that New England got. But you know what? They're just money at the breakdown. They don't lose it. They don't turn it over at the breakdown. It's very clean, very solid. They don't really build phases, but just really clean work at the breakdown.
Yeah, and they do it all with basically Ardejo having a guaranteed yellow card every game. And that one's actually real.
Yeah, that one's real.
But I'm going to say, and kind of shifting onto the fantasy-wise, is like, who's the driver behind this? Look at Felipe Echeverri. I mean, not last week. Man. I think they were actually on bye last week. So the week before that when they got the win in round 11. I mean, look at both of those performances, right? Like 11.4 fantasy points. Yeah, not great. But like 94 meters gain and 108 meters gain on this week. Like, he's the catalyst for this offense, and he was absolutely stellar in this game.
Full minutes every week too. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about it. Philippe Echeverry, 11.4 fantasy points in this one. Back-to-back weeks where he's gone higher than 94 meters gained. He's now gone, four of the last 5 games have been at least 11.4 fantasy points, which is solid to see. Yeah, pretty consistent as well, from that position. So, Philippe Echeverry, yeah, just to your point, Maddie, just driving that Miami offense.
Yeah.
Do have to give out some Team of the Week honorees in this one, though. We've got to give it out to our boy, friend of the show, Q. Andrew Quattrin is our front row of the week, scoring a total of 8.4 fantasy points, a rough one for the front rowers here this week, but Quattrin getting in there with 16 tackles and 36 meters gained for him.
Yep.
And then a couple of guys to lay out here. Seta Baker, he's the guy I've been talking about to kind of replace the production of Ian Conradi. Seta Baker been doing pretty solid. 13 fantasy points, second highest of the season with that try, 51 meters gained, and 13 tackles.
And Seta Baker's making a trend and a habit of being at the back of that maul and scoring the tries on the back of that New England maul. When they do get it right, he's generally there, not Quattrin. He's generally there to finish it off.
And then let's give a shout out. This is kind of Maddie's golden goose. Because after a string of scrum half starts, he earned scrum half eligibility in our fantasy platform, thefantasyruckers.com. Has his first appearance at the center position since going 4 weeks in a row at playing scrum half. And he shows up in the point column, 17.4.
I got Nate Oxberger back, baby. Let's go.
127 meters gain, a try, assist, 9 tackles. You know, maybe that's the key, because it's not a coincidence that you're now second in the OG Fantasy Ruckers League and you're now rolling here. You just need to find that guy every year that somehow gains scrum half eligibility when he shouldn't be a scrum half, or has scrum half eligibility when he's producing numbers. It is the cheat code.
Hey. And I've got 3 more weeks of that. And guess how many more weeks there are left? Or I got 2 more weeks left of that. And guess how many weeks there are until finals?
2 more weeks. That's true. Finals, good math. Yeah. Good weeks. Good math there, Matt. That's that might be your key. That's going to be very, very interesting. That honestly, because the way that the scrum half position there's a lack of points. Oh, that's going to be a scary lineup to face. That's for sure. 17.4 for Inciarte. A couple other guys, Nick Gregg, 12.3 fantasy points, and Santiago Videla, 9.7 for him.
I got to shout out Thomas Caceres too. Big boy try to win the game.
Yeah.
Picks up that ball, quick pickup, boom. Defense even realized, and by then you're not stopping that freight train.
And I think it's going to be so interesting. We'll get into the waiver wires a bit, but so interesting to see where Caceres fits back into the lineup. I mean, he was a stud early in the season,
but he came
out
how
does
the
he
bench.
fit back in this lineup? Yeah, so we'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on that for fantasy purposes.
All right, let's go on to the Chicago Hounds taking on the NOLA Gold on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
NOLA.
I mean, let's get into it because they come out with the victory 25-13. They're now 7-4, second in the Eastern Conference. Chicago's 5-6-1.
Wins, man.
I mean, like that, exactly that, Vandy. You take 4 weeks ago, and the way that we were talking about this NOLA team. Stop it, Matt. Stop it. I will not allow you. There are receipts. I will not allow you to flip back on this because you hopped off the train so quick. Your ticket's expired. You're not allowed to hop back on the train. But man, what are your thoughts? Baby. What are your thoughts on NOLA, man? Are they the real deal? I mean, this is even without Rodney Iona. I don't know what to think of this team. I still don't know what to think of this team.
Yeah,
and you know what?
I think
they only showed up in the second too.
I know.
They keep flipping that script, man. They pick a half and then they rock that half.
To be fair, it was pouring down. It was pouring down all first half. So it explained kind of
Chicago wasn't having a problem.
The 5-5. Chicago was definitely dominant in that first half for sure. And NOLA actually, Vandy, you always talk about them missing tackles. Like they actually NOLA stepped it up this game. NOLA actually stepped it up this game defensively, and that helped them out. But yeah, I mean, NOLA finding a way in that second half. Once the sun came out, they said, "Hey, we're gonna have a run." And Tanila Filimone, Ed Fido, those guys had a run, and they just went. They had quick ball. They looked good. Ed Fido is an absolute mutant.
How dirty was that step? How dirty was that step, Ed Fido, on his first try? It's disgusting.
Made down the sideline. Nobody
Carl's just look absolutely like that was tough to watch.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if it was
That's
tough to
rough.
watch. I liked it.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, I'm
go.
sure you did, buddy.
I don't
Oh,
want.
I liked it. I liked it for my fantasy
Yeah, I
team.
like it just as a fan of the sport.
20 point score this week so far, 22.8 for Ed Fido. 75 minutes played with 110 meters, 2 tries, 6 tackles. I mean, his second highest performance of the season. Hasn't scored lower than 8.1 fantasy points. I know he's been dealing with some injury stuff here and there, but I mean, Ed Fido, he after what was a disappointing 2023 year, after the crazy year he had for New York a couple seasons ago when he was the unquestionable number one. He's not maybe to that standpoint, but Ed Fido is one of the marquee guys to have in this on your fantasy squad so far this season.
Yeah, it was just Ed Fido back to classic Ed Fido things.
Yep.
Best way
He's
of
our
putting
back.
it.
Yeah, he's our back three team of the week player, and again, our top fantasy point scorer on this week so far. And then moving on to some other fantasy performers, Bryce Campbell, 14.4 fantasy points for him. Olajuwon Noah, 13.3, and Matt, you mentioned it, Taniela Filimone, 10.1 fantasy points for him.
Oh, I got a shout out to big boy Patty Ryan.
Oh,
big try, and he almost got a second one too. He actually set up the try after that. But you know what? I gotta shut him out. That's the big boy man of the week.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And also, I mean, hey, we got to talk about JP Duplessis. This guy's, you can't start him anymore.
No,
you can't start him anymore.
Nope.
I mean, like he is struggling. Like he even gets a start. He starts a game. He plays 57 minutes, 18 meters, 7 tackles. Like that's just not going to cut it fantasy wise. I just think he's not getting enough opportunity. And Jordan Jackson Hope is taking the bulk and is a workhorse of the center pairing. So JP Duplessis, I mean, he's somebody to definitely watch and potentially drop in the coming weeks.
It is crazy because we're going to look back on this during the off season. Again, I feel like it's a common theme, but man, how our top fives, but more generically, Maddie, so it doesn't make us look as bad, is just how volatile that first round is. Like, I think after every season that we've done doing this, like, I mean, it's like a 50% hit rate in terms of if you're going to get a guy that's going to actually be the top guy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you look at Joe Mono this year, not first round draft capital. You look at JP Duplessis, not first round draft capital.
You know what the crazy thing is too? It's not even like they're just not like a first round pick. You could have got them in the third. It's like they're a first round pick that are barely viable on your team.
Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy. And again, if you're just testing out this fantasy MLR thing for the first time and you're in a league this year, I mean,
it happens.
Get used to it.
This is every year.
Exactly. And that's, but I mean, it makes fantasy MLR interesting. Just that much more kind of layers in terms of strategy and trying to figure out this season and trying to getting into the playoffs definitely makes it interesting. A couple other notes here. I will mention, Vandy, you said Patty Ryan, 7.4 fantasy points for him. I just wanted to mention the counterpart to JP Duplessis because I think this was a guy that I think a lot of people were shifting to before he got injured. But Jordan Jackson Hope didn't really have a great fantasy performance. Higher performance than Duplessis, but he only had 9.2 as well. But again, just an interesting kind of dynamic there that's happening with the NOLA centers, and, especially with Rodney Iona out.
Sick try by Filimone, jumping in there looking like Superman.
All right. Let's move on to the last game of the weekend here. Wrapping up on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. RFC Los Angeles taking on the San Diego Legion. It looked like Los Angeles may have had it. And then San Diego comes through and snatches it away. 27-19 victory. San Diego now have won a string of games. They're back up to 7-4. Los Angeles now 3-7-1.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, San Diego, I guess, found out that they should only play 40 again and forgot how to play a full 80 because, man, did LA ever come out dominating that first half? It was also such a weird lineup, too. Like, they were helped by the lack of discipline for San Diego, for sure. Like, 2 yellow cards, that's not going to help you win games.
They only let up 2 tries, though, and got one with those 2 yellows.
Well, yeah, that is true.
You got a try with 13
You let up 2 tries. That is fair.
That's bad.
That is fair enough. But yeah, I mean, man, they got to figure out how to be disciplined and focus and play for a full 80 minutes if they're ever going to make any type of run this year. But a couple odd lineup pairings. I mean, we got LA coming in with the Niall Saunders, Taz Smith, Niall Saunders kicking for goal pairing. That's not going to help any fantasy managers there because nobody saw that coming. And then San Diego, I mean, you get into the second half, Matt Giddo comes off for Dean Christensen, Connor Tupai goes to 10. Nobody saw that coming either.
And Tupai looked good at 10.
Yeah, I mean, he did score that try off an assist from Danny Christensen, who I personally bash a lot for his play. But hey, nice try assist. Nice sweet offload. But yeah, such a weird pairing. Pairing there, but yeah.
All right, well, let's get into some of the guys here. We'll start off with our team of the week honorees. Got to dish it out. I mean, this guy doesn't even have to start, right? Like, this guy does not have to start, and he's still going to give you a 15+ point performance. I
mean, he came in pretty early.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did come in
both games, he did come in pretty early, to be fair. But I mean, it's still, he's coming off the bench.
Do you know what's crazy? He's actually the 4th ranked guy in the league right now.
Yeah.
And he gets so many yellow cards.
Yes, he does.
He's got 3 yellow cards on the season.
Dude, and that try Selly, though, that dive in the end zone, how does a man that big not hurt himself falling to the ground like that? It's like a meteor.
Yeah. No, it's pretty gnarly. But again, 2 try performance coming off the bench. Both games, to Matthew's point, coming off pretty early. I'm still put in big time minutes, 64 this week. But still 2 tries, 57 meters, and 9 tackles for Semi Kunitani for our back row player of the week. Our second row player of the week, Jay Tuivasa on San Diego, 12.6. He scored a nice try. He looked pretty fast for a lock, I gotta say.
Yes, he did.
He did look good. He did look good. It was a nice little play in the back line. Nice hands get it out to him. And he just had space to stretch those legs.
And that was the cool thing. Is like, I haven't seen, if I'm thinking of the right play, was what they gave, the prop gives it back to the 9. No, I'm thinking of a different play there. No, that was a
different play. This one was just out the back door. They had to get it out quick. He got the ball and he had some space to stretch the legs and run.
Yeah. So it should be good. And then last player of the week in this one, Tian Lutz, 17 fantasy points at the center position for San Diego. He looked pretty solid there.
I mean, hey, he continues every time he starts. I mean, 3 out of the 4 times he starts, he just has a game. Like, he finds a way to get involved. It's impressive. I really like if he's starting. Too. Yeah, he does. But if he's starting, I think he's a really great kind of streamer or great kind of guy to have on your bench just in case.
And it's an interesting way with San Diego because they got Tian Lutz, they got Ethan Grayson, they got Marcel Brocky, who sometimes starts at the center position, just kind of a rolling list of names to kind of put in that mix. So pretty interesting. Other guys to mention, Connor Tupai, 12 fantasy points in this one. Ryan James, Matt Gateau, both with 10 in this one as well.
And I want to shout out Jack Shaw. Way to kid up after taking that vicious shot to the back of the head after his try. Holy moly, man.
Yeah. And I did see.
How's that not a red?
And they came. You saw the players right before celebrating, like they went right up to the other, and they're like, what the heck was that?
Yeah, but, that was
interesting. But nonetheless, an exciting round.
Dylan Nell, 5 games.
Round 13 of matches there. You got through Byemageddon. You listened to our survival kit that Vandy and I provided you last week, and
that's where people got it all wrong.
Yeah, that's where it all got.
No, we did good. We did good, Vandy. We listened to our own advice and we came up with dubs this week. We're good.
Yeah,
we're cool.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah. Come on, build the confidence there. All right. Well, now that Byemageddon has passed, it doesn't mean you take it any lighter on the waiver wire. It only gets more important because there are probably guys on your waiver wire that shouldn't be available that people had to drop last week to make it through Byemageddon. And that is probably the biggest advice to get through this week is to just look on your waiver wire, see who's dropped the week before, and keep an eye out for anyone that might be a nice little addition to your squad now that you've gone through Byemageddon and may have roster spots to spare.
Yeah, let me name some guys, for example, that got dropped in ours. Jake Turnbull dropped. Paul Balcana dropped. Joe Mono dropped. So yeah, some big names that are in there.
I think I dropped Balacana.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I
did. But hey, he wasn't starting, so that's why he's got to go.
That's why he's got to go. I'm trying.
So yeah, there's definitely some big names in there, and that's going to drive some of these waiver decisions.
Absolutely. So again, I think the biggest tip here, look out for those big names, see who was dropped, and definitely if they're up there on the rankings list, definitely it's not a trick on your eyes. Definitely put in that bid. But Matt and I are going to name some names that may not be on your radar if there aren't those guys that are available. If you need a streamer this week against Chicago and Seattle on bye, a well-needed bye week for Seattle with all the injuries coming up and building up on their squad. So if you have any of those guys, definitely something to look out for. We'll start with the front row position. For me, Maddie, Patty Ryan. Vandy was talking about him in terms of his big boy try and how good he looked on there. Now that Patty Ryan he was on Chicago.
Hey,
I got the other Patty Ryan wrong.
Yeah. You got duped. You got Patty Ryan duped.
I got Patty Ryan duped.
You got Pat fished.
Yeah. I got Pat Fish. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the Chicago Hounds, Patty Ryan, who did score a try in this past week. A different try there for him off the set piece, I believe, if I recall correctly. But he's getting involved. He has the ability to possibly get up above in those 3 to 4 fantasy point range with the tackles that he has. He has that ability to try to score. We'll see. This might be something that you're looking for in the future here.
Yeah, because I mean he won't be available next week with Chicago on bye. But if you have space, you can obviously pick him up. He might be a nice little streamer. He was involved in a lot of ways last week. For me, I got front row. I got Facundo Gaddis. I think Vaca's going to start, Vandy, so don't worry. I think he is going to start.
Yeah,
but I think Facundo Gaddis will still be able to get in there and get some work. Every time he comes on, he seems to have some impact, and they're playing against the Anthem. So I like that matchup. And if you need a front rower, he might be the guy that you want to take a bet on.
Absolutely. All right. And now shifting on over to the second row position. For me, I'm going Regan O'Gorman. Regan O'Gorman on Los Angeles has 25.5 fantasy points on the season. For our analytics, LA is taking on the Miami Sharks, who's one of the top teams that have allowed the most fantasy points to the second row position. Regan O'Gorman should be a guy that is able to capitalize on that. He has, again, 25.5. This past week, he scored 5.6, 74-minute game. He has the ability to go to that full extent, which is always good to see at that second row position to get that bonus point. And he also has double-digit tackles in 2 of the past 3 games that he's played in. So another kind of option. Again, both these guys are not guys that I'll drop fab on, but if you are in need of a second row player because you had any of the Seattle or Chicago guys, that is a guy to look at.
Yeah, and I've got Thomas Caceres here. We talked about him earlier. Vandy, you talked about that big boy try that he had to win the game. The fact that I think he's going to find himself in the starting lineup, but the fact that he's got second row eligibility and can play in that back row position, getting 9.6 fantasy points coming on to cover for that back row. He played back row in round 6. I think he's going to be a nice little spot there, and he could be a guy that actually starts for you in that second row position for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely. All right. Shifting on now to the back row position. Again, this is another guy that is more of a long-term pickup. Not playing this week because Seattle is on bye, but with the injuries and especially the knowledge of the injuries that have happened here in terms of them being season enders, we know this guy is going to have a fantasy impact here in the coming weeks and could be, I'm not going to say a league winner, but a guy that could push you over the edge to making a run here in the playoffs. And that's Manate Akui of Seattle Seawolves. Played at that 8 position. He's athletic. He scored a try over the weekend. If you have the space to hold on to him, right? You got through Byemageddon. You don't have, many guys that are on bye. There's a guy that you streamed this past week that you can drop and you have the ability to stash this guy. This might be a good stash. And I would honestly drop fab on him and get it on it early because I think that you wait and this guy may not get picked up this week, but he's going to be a hot commodity, I feel like, in the next waiver wire. So if you pick him in now, you could probably get him on the cheaper side of things for the price of holding on to him through his bye week. Definitely could be a guy that heading into your playoff stretch could be a guy that you're putting in that front forward flex position that has that ability to score a try, especially with the opportunity he should now be seeing with the Seawolves with all the injuries that they're having.
Yeah, and you really got to just balance out, Hugh Taylor, Manate Akui, like which one do you want to go with? It seems like Akui, like the fact that they threw him right into that starting lineup is a really good sign for him. For me, for the back rower, Vandy, you might like this one. Hunga Havili, I've got for my back row.
If he starts.
With that Nell suspension. I mean, the last game before Utah went on bye, Hunga Havili was starting at 8. You
True.
hope to see that starting again, and he doesn't, and Thomas Tuivasa doesn't go in place of him. I'm leaning Hunga heavily, just because, Vandy, you know my feelings with Thomas Tuivasa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Havili's a
like
big boy
Hunga
too.
Havili. Yeah, I like Hunga Havili here. I really do. I think he's going to start, and I think he's going to have a game.
All right, now going on to the scrum half, fly half positions. I'm going to just bunch these together, and I'm just going to say it right now. You're not finding many people on the waiver wire at this point of the season. And I will
Well,
say it depends, though. This is where my
You're
caveat
just
at the
taking
top of the waiver
availability.
wire availability, and you're looking at who's starting. And this is where
Yeah.
my tip at the top of the waiver wire segment kind of comes into play. Just look for anyone who's dropped in your league, and that's going to differ from league to league. Matt, the guy that he's going to name, is available in our league. But there are guys, especially with an 8-teamer, where guys might be available in your leagues that shouldn't be there. And if a scrum half is starting, this will be my tip, my waiver wire tip this week. If a scrum half is starting, if a fly half is starting, and they were kicking, you could possibly get him in this spot here, and just wait for those lineups to come out and see what you got. Because again, you're not getting many options at this position, especially at the scrum half position. There's just not many points to be had. Maddie, name your guy.
yeah, I'll go both at the same time. Then Sayosi Nye, I got for the scrum half position. In our league, both the Anthem nines got dropped. I mean, I guess all three of the Anthem nines got dropped. I think Sayosi Nye comes in to start. I think he has an opportunity to have a good game against this Old Glory DC side in the upcoming week. So we can see. And then for fly half, Jordan Chait did get dropped, and Matt Antichev are both available. I'm not too sure why they weren't in last week's lineup. But I think it's worth it for Jordan Chait at least to pick him up and see kind of where we're at there. Like what happens. Did he get hurt in the game before the bye?
I can't remember.
No, he didn't. He came on early for Dan Hollinshead, who got hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would pick up Jordan Chait because it's so limited at the fly out position that if you need a guy, he might be your guy there that is just that will be starting for the rest of the year.
And one guy that comes to mind that may have been dropped, may not be available, but might have been dropped because of the bye. Maybe hope to see if Cliven Laubser is potentially available from the Anthem. I think with that big time performance that he had heading into the bye, I picked him up and I held on to him because I know the value that he has, and I think he's going to be starting at that fly half position with the likelihood that Oscar Collar is overseas now and not with the Anthem. But we'll see. So Cliven Laubser may be a guy that you want to just look out for. Just type in the name, see if he's available. All right, let's go into the center position. For me, I'm going with Samu Smith. He's center eligible on our Fantasy Ruckers platform. He usually plays the back three position for the Houston SaberCats. And Houston goes up against the NOLA Gold, who have been allowing some of the most back three points to two teams over the course of this season. And with Samu Smith and the way that he's been playing for the Houston SaberCats, who has been appearing at that back three positions for the past 2 weeks for the SaberCats heading into the bye, double-digit fantasy point performances in both of them, has surpassed the 80 meters gained in both of them. I think Samu Smith is a guy that can be very, very, very relevant towards the tail end of this season here, especially against a NOLA Gold team that is allowing a lot of points to the back three position if Smith starts.
Yeah, and I got a very similar sentiment with my guy, Paula Sike. I mean, if he starts, and that's why he's been on the waiver, right? Like, it's the if he starts.
Yeah, injury issues.
When he does start, this guy is an absolute and always involved in the offense, like such a strong ball carrier.
Tackle machine.
Yeah, and it always bodes well for fantasy.
Yeah.
Like the way that he plays always bodes well for fantasy in that center position. If he's there, I would honestly debate dropping Fab on him simply because I think with the game that he had right before the bye of 17.5 fantasy points, 158 meters gained, like that's going to be a big reason that guys are going to possibly put money on him.
Absolutely. All right. Now shifting on to the back three position, Alex Horan for me is the waiver wire pickup. He was my back three waiver wire pickup last week, but I think the performance that he had this past weekend only solidifies that even more. Horan is starting to establish himself as that 15 in the San Diego Legion lineup. He's coming off back-to-back weeks where he's scored higher than 8.6 fantasy points. I think he's establishing himself. He has 4 try assists on the season, even when he doesn't start. I think Alex Horan is continuing to emerge as the fullback for the San Diego team that has been successful with him in the lineup. And I think his value, at least fantasy-wise, is only going to grow as that continues to increase here moving forward with the Legion.
Yeah, and I got for my back three, I got basically purely matchup here. Perry Humphreys, I think he's going to be a good start against the Anthem. I think last time he played them, he scored a try. Can't remember though, but I think that Perry Humphreys might be a nice little streaming start here in the back three position.
And then defense set piece, I'm just going to say it, just like the scrum out position, just go with anyone who was dropped. I think
Ooh.
the guy that you or the team that you're going to mention, Matt, here is a good option moving forward. They look solid at times this year. But again, you're just kind of scouring it. I really think that the
I'm gonna
last probably team that you can actually probably hop on, and he's not available, they're not available in ours, but it's a team that we've been hammering home, and they once again had a try assist this past weekend. If RC Los Angeles is available, I think that's a pretty good option. They've been emerging, and that pack has been kind of performing moving forward. But who you got, Matt?
Yeah, I got the Anthem set piece here. I mean, they are seem to be a lock in for either the offensive or defensive bonus set piece bonus point for the past few weeks here. Um, so we'll see. I mean, actually, I think the stats I'm reading are wrong, but they seem to be a lock. With they look like in the last game they look really good. I think with this matchup against Old Glory DC, I think they have an opportunity to do that again. So I think you can get yourself 2 points from your set piece. That's more than most can say. And maybe they even pull out a nice little win for you and get some set piece try assists.
I guess we'll see. All right. Well, so keep an eye out on any of those names. Again, I think the biggest advice going into this waiver wire is just see who is dropped to get through Byemageddon and try to pick up on those any of those big time names, which could be a nice little injection of fantasy talent onto your squad here late in the fantasy MLR season. All right, let's go on to our week 14 preview here. And let's start talking about the games that we have coming up this weekend. A tough one for us in our predictions here in week 13. All of us going 2-2, 46-19-2 for me. Maddie, 44-21-2 for you, and Vandy 39-26-2
I'm almost
on the
in the
season.
40s.
You're almost in the 40s. You're getting there. It's the little things. It's the little victories. Again, Chicago and Seattle on bye. Before we get into these matches, though, I wanted to ask you a question after our week 13 breakdown. And in terms of the teams that are competing for that upper echelon tier of, standings here in the 2024 MLR season, outside of the Houston SaberCats, between that next tier of teams, when it comes to New England, Seattle, San Diego, I'd even probably throw NOLA in there. Out of that kind of next tier of the next best, which team do you have more confidence in? Because it seems like all of them have a little caveat, whether it's injury, inconsistency, like really outside of the Houston SaberCats, all of these other teams, it's tough to kind of pick that. So I just want to get your guys' opinion before your week 14 previews in terms of out of those kind of next best, who you had the most confidence in for the rest of the Major League Rugby season.
Well, I'd say most of it goes to NOLA and the Legion.
Oh,
I don't know. Seattle's too banged up, and Free Jacks equally banged up. It just don't seem to have that, not a spunk I'll use, but I mean, NOLA and San Diego, they don't seem to be able to pull together two halves of a game. So, I mean,
who are you picking, Vandy? You got to pick one?
Give me NOLA.
All right. I can't convince myself.
NOLA's got better players.
Right, but there's something about NOLA, right, that they've scarred me these past couple of years in terms of we've thought that this team has been good.
That's sports,
and then
buddy.
they're not. I know.
That's sports.
And it's just it's tough to jump on this battle. Do I say San Diego just because of their pedigree from before?
No, you say
if you're confident in San Diego, then you don't know.
Yeah,
you go San Diego.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably have to pick, Matt, before you go. I think I'm going to still side with the New England Free Jacks. Just the way that the team is run, injuries should be coming out. Reese McDonald is coming back. I know they lost VN and they've lost Poland, but I think New England is still probably the team out of that four that I have the most confidence in, despite a tough game against Miami.
Yeah, I mean, my worrying thing is that New England Free Jacks usually do this at the start of the year,
right?
But now they're doing it at a time where it's really kind of hurts for them.
Yeah.
But I got to go with the same thing. I think New England Free Jacks, I got the most confident out of them. I think they'll figure it out. They've always shown in the past that they'll figure it out. So yeah, that has to be the team that I'm probably the most confident in out of the rest of the best.
All right. Well, let's see if we put our money where our mouth is in these predictions here. Let's start off. Yeah, well, we've been doing that, and we'll get into it at the Triple D segment. Hasn't been going so hot for me here moving forward because I was pretty confident last week and it didn't turn out that way. All right, let's go into the first matchup. No Friday matchups, but we open up with Saturday once again. At least the league is consistent. We're going to start off, and our curtain raiser is always going to be Anthem. It's always going to be Anthem. You start off all sports by singing the anthem. We start off the Major League Rugby season by playing with the anthem.
I like
see
that.
What I did there?
I like
what
that.
I did there?
I like that.
Old Glory DC at home at 4-5-2, taking on Anthem Rugby Carolina, who has yet to have a win on this season so far. This one should be an interesting one. I think this one is going to be.
No, I will not get burned.
No, I'm not gonna. What I'm saying from a fantasy standpoint
is
that
you're going.
I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points behind. I think this one's going to be a barn burner when it comes to fantasy points being scored. That being said,
it means it's going to be low scoring.
I said this the weeks that I thought that Anthem was going to win before.
That's right.
I'm not betting. I'm not picking this team until they show me that they have a win. I'll get burned the once. So I'm going to go Old Glory DC in this one. Home field advantage. And they've looked all right. They were competitive against Seattle. I'll go DC in this one. Vandy, who you go?
Oh, easy.
Easy, he says. Okay.
I want to catch up to Matt. So, Matt, you go Carolina here. And
how do you know what I'm going?
I already know where you're going.
Look, Old Glory DC hasn't, they got their first win at home 2 weeks ago. Did they even get a win at home? I can't even remember if they got a win at home.
You want to know who else does ever win at home? Or away?
Yeah, okay. But hey, this is a week, baby. This is a week. Anthem comes in hot. Anthem's going to get the dub. Anthem's going to show up. They just had a bye. They've been preparing 2 weeks for this game. They're coming in hot. Now, they're going to figure it out. They're going to get the win here in wherever they play, Maryland.
And you know what's funny?
The Degenerate side of me's putting money on it too. I'm putting at least $5 on Carolina.
You know what's funny, Vandy, is that Carolina's going to win this one.
I know.
And what we're going to hear next week from Maddie is going to be ridiculous.
I'll cover my ears with the dollar bills they're going to make me.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the second matchup of Saturday. The NOLA Gold taking on the Houston SaberCats at home. Houston coming off the bye. NOLA coming off the win against Chicago. NOLA 7-4. Houston 10-1.
Buzzsaw.
I mean, on paper, this is a pretty meaningful game when it comes to
yes, meaningful.
I want to interject here. If NOLA beats Houston, you guys both eat your words next show about this Free Jacks team.
No, I don't gotta eat my words. I eat enough.
Oh, in terms of who we have more confidence, okay, that's fair. If NOLA beats the Houston this week, I'll jump on your bandwagon, Manny, and I'll say I'll have the most confidence in the NOLA team.
Deal.
Yep. I'll say that, but that's not going to happen because I think Houston's going to smack
Houston's
NOLA.
A buzzsaw, man.
I'm all aboard on the Houston.
Houston can play a full game, man.
Yeah, I'm going Houston too.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
who did Houston?
It's going to be Houston.
Seattle.
Was it Seattle? Let me do some research here. Let me
almost NOLA at one point.
Was it?
It was
NOLA?
No.
Almost NOLA.
It was almost. But either way, NOLA does, despite how well they've been playing and the teams.
I think they play up. I think NOLA plays up, man. I do. I don't think the Free Jacks play up.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, anyways, Houston's going to run through this. I think Houston's they're good.
Lost
to the Free Jacks. Come on.
No, but I think Houston's figured out their lineup. They've figured it out. They AJ, Dom, No,
Akina didn't even play.
No, that's not
AJ, Sam Hill, Tuala Tassi, or whoever at 12. Just make sure Tuala Tassi's in there. We got Christian Dyer. We got Coates out the back, and then we got whoever on the wing, whether that's Misilagu or whether that's Simu Smith. Either way, they're killing it. So, I like Houston in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm playing all my Houston.
There'll be no money to be made.
I think there's going to be a lot of points on the Houston side of things with this. All right, last game of Saturday, late 10 p.m. Eastern time. The Utah Warriors at home taking on the San Diego Legion. 7-4 Legion, 4-7 Utah. This was a tough one because Utah has we're getting late in the season. My confidence with their fantasy assets is wavering. Joe Mono hasn't done well. Caleb Mackin, he's kind of the lone bright spot in that. Frank Lockhor is also one that's kind of in there. But I mean, Utah been struggling, and I don't know if I can be on this train anymore. I'm gonna go San Diego in this one.
Loser.
I
I'm
don't
going
think
Utah.
Utah's gonna win this one. Okay.
We beat them
All right.
last
Yeah.
time.
I'm going Utah.
All
They'll
right.
figure it out. Hey, things to watch. Who starts in the back row? Who starts at 8?
Yeah.
Who starts at the hooker position for Utah? Who starts in the centers for Utah? San Diego. Who starts at 10?
That's at
That's
Utah,
going to be the
right?
big questions.
That's at Utah.
And
Yep.
we beat the Legion at the Legion. Oh yeah, give me Utah.
Give me Utah. Let's go, Vandy.
That's
All right.
Matt.
I hope they wear those stupid orange jerseys too.
So do I.
It is rubbing in my face a little bit more. Winning, proving me wrong while looking ugly doing it. All right. New England Free Jacks taking
So I
on the
live my
Dallas
life.
Jackals. There you go. New England Free Jacks taking on the Dallas Jackals at home. New England 7-4, Dallas 5-6. Dallas coming off the bye. New England the tough loss to Miami.
Do it.
This one.
Do it. Do it. After you tell me you got all the faith in the Free Jacks, I want you to pick Dallas here.
Well, see now, this is a problem. Now I have
I'm going
to
Dallas.
I'm going Dallas. I'm going Dallas 100%.
I'm going Dallas.
See, this is a problem because now I have conflicting interests because I
You
picked
did
going
me
Dallas.
having the most confidence with New England.
You jumped
And
on board and now you're looking
Hey,
across
hey,
the
hey,
sea,
hey.
bud.
No,
Just
and
because
apparently
you have confidence in New England doesn't mean you have them winning.
It's true.
All
That's
right, you
fair.
have NOLA Gold losing. That means
Yeah,
New England Free
that's
Jacks.
true.
You can still have more
That's
confidence
true.
in them and
That's
still have them
true.
losing.
And-
I'm going
and-
Dallas Jackals.
and I am a pseudo Dallas Jackals fan right
You are
now.
not pseudo.
gave
You
me-
have a
they
scarf.
Gave me,
You
they gave me
have.
the
Yeah, you're
scarf.
full
You
on.
are a Jackals
You're
fan.
full
So if
on.
you don't go Dallas, you're a fraud.
All right, Jackals win. Yeah, I can't do.
Well, you're a
Vandy.
fraud anyways for what you did 5 minutes ago, but
Whatever,
Nope.
Vandy. Get
Nope,
off my
there's
back.
logic surrounding that. There is logic surrounding that.
What are your thoughts on this one though? Like from a fantasy asset wise, like are you
Well,
happy to have
what's
guys in
Reese
this matchup?
McDonald's status? What's happening back? Like, where's Reese McDonald in this?
yeah.
Where does that put Daniel Morgan Pudarangi? Does that move him back to the wing? If so, Pudarangi skyrockets in my books.
Is Patros
Um,
actually healthy or is he just playing?
Yeah, I mean that's also a question. Also, LaRue Milan, I think, goes out of the starting lineup.
Yeah,
I think so, too.
Vanderbank goes back in
Yeah.
the starting lineup. So these are all questions. I think Dallas Jackals less questions just because I think they've had a quite solid starting lineup for the most part in
Yeah.
the past few weeks. But it's really kind of who's replacing that Vaughn Isaacs. I think Winchester goes to 15. And
I think Sam
we've got-
Tuifua is going to have a big game in this one.
Yeah, he will. He will.
Last question before we go to the last match. If you have LaRue Milan, he's not starting this week. Droppable candidate. Are you
Yeah.
picking up LaRue Milan for Polisike?
Yeah.
Wait, am I
Yeah.
picking up?
No, are you
LaRue Milan
dropping?
for
Are you
Polisike?
dropping LaRue Milan for Polisike?
Yeah, I was debating dropping JP Duplessis for Polisike. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm dropping LaRue Milan for Polisike.
If
right.
Lasike's playing, he's a must start, man. He's getting you 12 points.
All right.
Book it bets.
Book it bets. Okay. RFC Los Angeles, Miami Sharks for the what a way to finish off the weekend. The last matchup
Yeah.
of the Sunday, June 2nd, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Miami 4-7, coming off the big bye to win to New England. Los Angeles, the tough loss to San Diego, 3-7-1. This one's gonna be an ugly matchup. I feel like I don't know what to expect out of this. Like what do you want out of this from a fantasy standpoint?
NCRT to start in the centers.
There you go. There you go.
Manuel Ardejo to go one game without getting a card.
There you go. I guess
I would bet on
there
it.
is a wish list.
But yeah, I mean, I got Miami in this one. I think
Yeah.
Miami's actually sneaky good. I think Felipe Echeverri continues his run. I would definitely watch out for him to have a good game.
Nick Grigg.
And then I think, Nick Grigg also as well. I think for me, I think the big one is going to be what does that back row look like? I think Caceres finds himself in there, if not in the second row. And I think that's going to be pretty big fantasy wise. LA, the 10 position, you got to figure that out. I don't know what's happening in that 10 position, but they can't. They got to. I'm hoping Jordan Jade's back, or I'm hoping Matt Antichev is back, but they got to figure that one out.
All right, Vandy, who you got?
Give me Miami.
All right, screw you guys. I'm going Los Angeles here. I think
you would.
they'll sort out the 10 stuff hopefully into this week, and we'll get that going. So yeah, should be an interesting. Definitely not on the board. This might be the most split week that we've been so far this season. So should make for an interesting one this coming week, and a lot of big time matches that have huge implications as we get towards the tail end of the season. I mean, a lot of 7-4 teams going up against teams that are fighting for the playoffs. I mean, I think for me, the best match of the weekend is going to be that Free Jacks Jackals matchup.
Yeah.
Like the
that's
team
gonna be a
winning
good
that one, that's going to be huge.
I think Utah
Really?
versus San Diego is going to be a good game.
Yeah. Should be a good one too.
I think Anthem versus Old Glory is going to kick off the weekend so strong.
Imagine if you've been
Watch
saying
it be a barn burner.
I think it's going to be, there's going to be a whole bunch of, it's going to be a fun match.
42-33.
It might be. It might be.
I'm
But yeah, a fun week 14 in store for us. Definitely split on the results, and we'll see whether or not, again, just like last week, which matches are going to make us wrong.
You know what else is fun, Ryan? More fantasy.
More fantasy. That's right. And that's a great segue because, like I said at the top of the show, this is now our special announcement here. As fantasy junkies, as guys that love to play fantasy, anything fantasy, especially fantasy rugby in the MLR, as we continue to make it a reality, we got to do our due diligence in terms of testing out other platforms and figuring out what those things are all about. And I'm sure you've seen the advertisements, and I'm sure you've seen those halftime commercials going, and the logos on the field and the sponsorships. But Ovalee has been a thing, and we've been on this show before talking about this whole NFT thing, and figuring out what it's all about. And we now have an opportunity to give it a go. Ovalee and us have been in a partnership here moving forward to just try to test it out and try to give other fantasy junkies an idea of what Ovalee is, and it's going to be an interesting one. I will first state off by saying that this does not by all means put the Fantasy Ruckers in the back. This Fantasy Ruckers is our utmost importance. Our platform is always going to be what I think the marquee platform, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying out other forms of the game, and Ovalee is one of them. And we're going to go out there and we're going to try this. So in our partnership, Ovalee has tasked us. We got missions now with creating a 5-man lineup. We will be receiving one of our favorite players in the league, and a rare version of that player. And then we got to build our team around this player, and we're going to all find out who that player is and who we're going to be getting tomorrow, or I should say tonight, on an 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. So Tuesday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Join us on YouTube, where we're going to try to test out this Ovalee thing. We're going to try to build a lineup. We're going to go through purchasing players, and we're going to try to see what this platform is all about. And we can't get enough of fantasy MLR, and this is another way to do that in addition to the Fantasy Ruckers. It aligns very well, for those of you who haven't tried it, very well with our weekly challenge. It's very similar in terms of the strategies and the way to go about it. So again, Tuesday tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. We will be doing a live stream on YouTube. Link down below in the description to tune into that. Join us. Have fun with it. Ask questions about us. We're going to be learning with you in terms of what this Ovalee thing, and I think that's the emphasis, is that Fantasy Ruckers, we've been playing this thing, and we think that it's really, really, really fun and the marquee fantasy platform. But we want to learn and explore and see what other people are doing as well. So learn with us in terms of trying to figure out what this Ovalee thing is, because we've definitely not seen a shortage of it in terms of the messaging on broadcasts and sponsorship. So might as well give it a try.
I agree.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to find out my player. Looking forward to beat you guys. Just another platform.
Played a lot of Mutt back in the day. That's Madden Ultimate Team. So, building a team is something I've done for years now.
All right. Well, we'll see how it is. So
always grinding for that 99 Christian McCaffrey.
That's right.
There you go. Well, join us 8:15 p.m. 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday. That's tonight. YouTube live. Join us for picking our team. Help us. Maybe we'll pick some players that you guys want us to pick. We got it on there. It'll be a lot of fun. Join us and go through the journey of this Ovalee thing. So that should be good. Fun little partnership moving forward. So thanks to Ovalee, and we look forward to continuing working with them. We're also going to have a weekly segment, just 5 minutes here, to talk about how our journey is progressing and talk about our lineups going forward here, which should be interesting. All right, let's go to the last segment of the show. Vandy. Devin's Degenerate Dambles. Triple D,
Degenerate.
You talked about and alluded to some of the stuff that you may be picking this week. But let's talk about this past week first and what you learned. You put down a few bets. We talked about it last show. What was the results? How did you do? Did you win any money? What's the net? Give us the answers.
Well, I bet 30 and I won 30.
All right.
Oh, we're flat.
There you go,
But
Vandy.
you know what?
You did it.
You know what?
did
You
it.
know what? You know what?
Hey.
Hey, whoa. I'd rather. You know what? I had something there. Not gonna say it. You know
What
what?
I was
I'd
gonna
rather
say,
have
what I was
tried and then just broke even than not have tried at all, Matt.
well, what I was gonna say, if you're not losing
You're
money,
winning.
you're technically winning. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
you're good.
I'm
So net
keeping
zero.
myself busy for no money.
So net $0 this week. So you're still $23.82 in the plus. That's way better than what I'm doing. What I'll say is I bet the parlay that I said I was going to do last show.
So did
I only bet like $6 on it, but now I am $50 in the hole. So you're doing a lot better than me, Vandy.
I
You've
also
done
followed that parlay. I put 10 on that. I put 10 on free jack spread at I think it was 6.5. That really panned out. And then I put $10 on NOLA to win. So got my money back there. But
right.
this
What are you
week,
looking at this week?
okay.
Yeah.
This week,
Anthem.
this week is
Anthem.
perfectly set up. This is the most dangerous gamble you make, but it is one that rewards the risky. And this is when you do what I call it's called a loser's parlay. Because you got to be a loser to make this. And what it is basically you take teams that have got great odds and they're all loser teams. So I'm gonna probably only put $1 on it, but I'm gonna parlay Anthem with NOLA and Utah.
Okay.
For $1, I guarantee if that one hits, I make $50, $60, $70.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's go.
That's the most degenerate Damble. Like the worst part is when I'm gonna go make it. Realistically, I'm probably gonna put 5 on it, and it is the biggest waste of $5. You might as well take $5 and go set it on fire, which is illegal. Don't do that. I didn't promote that, but you might as well.
Yeah.
Now my lock this week is obviously Houston, but you go the spread there because there'll be no money on money line.
Hold on, I got a question.
And then
you got NOLA in your parlay, but you're locking in Houston.
Dude,
that's why it's called the loser's parlay.
Listen. If this isn't some linear chart, okay? Gambling's like that meme with the dudes all over the spread thing, and you're trying to explain it, but I don't have time. And then
there's gonna be contradicting picks.
Yeah. And then also I think a really good dog pick here is Miami. LA will probably get the plus 100, plus 150 for being at home purely. And I think Miami, two wins in a row. I think they got a really good shot of at least doubling your money. You'll probably get, like I said, plus 105 on that. So, I mean, bet 10.
Well, now you got me interested, Vanny, because now I'm thinking, all right, I'm $50 in the hole. What's a quick way? What's a quick way to get that all back? Let's put $1 bet on all these losers.
It's hit for me. It's hit for me in hockey. It's hit for me in football.
All right. Well,
UFC doesn't count, but
that's another edition of Devin's Degenerate Dambles. Learning
Let's
a lot
go,
each and every week. Love that everyone's following around. I know that MLR bets is a growing thing and it's something we wanted to include. And Vandy has a fun time doing it, whether he's losing or winning. So
I'm only winning.
It's a good time.
I'm on money.
Only winning. All right. Well, we got an exciting round of matches again. For our 5 matches this. Yeah.
You messed that up. You have me at 0 return, so it looks like I've spent 140 and returned 133. No. You had that right.
All right, Vandy, we get it. All right.
Whatever.
You made net 0.
You have that return. You have plus 0. That's plus 30.
Oh, right. Okay, all right. We'll get to that.
I'm up $16, and don't you ever take that away from me.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize. But nonetheless, Vandy, you're still in the positive, buddy. You're making money here. We'll see if I can switch things around here. But again, fun weekend of matches. 5 matches should be interesting. Definitely not a easy one to predict. Obviously, last one wasn't. This one shouldn't be either. Join us tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time for our Oval E live stream show, picking up our lineups. Join us, have fun with us. Should be good. It's always fun interacting with our.
That is Tuesday, May 28th,
8:15 Eastern time.
Yeah.
That's good.
ET.
Hey, we'd love to see you. We'd love to hear from you.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, format ye.
No, wait. And one more thing. Don't forget that if you do hop in that live chat, make sure to throw some thumbs down for Maddie. It's kind of a tradition.
What the
Poop
heck?
emojis. Poop emojis.
Oh, poop emojis. That's right. Make sure
What
to throw
is
the poop
happening?
emojis. It's kind of a thing that we do for Maddie, just to
Yeah,
show him
there
we
you
love
go.
him.
That's
All
important.
right. Yeah. Make sure you show me you love me.
All right, Matt.
good.
You got anything else you want to add for the people?
No.
All right. For Matt Yee, for Devin Vandypool. Devin
Vandy.
Vandypool. I'm Ryan Yee. We'll see you tonight, 8:15 Eastern time. We'll look for you then. And if not, we'll see you next week on another edition of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
Smelling 7th place.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.